Let's get into it. Crypto markets, they can feel like just a total whirlwind sometimes. So much information moving so fast. But to really understand what's going on underneath, sometimes you just got to zoom out. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're taking a deep dive, looking at the long-term weekly movements for XRP. We're using a pretty detailed source here. It's called XRP, Weekly Chart Analysis and Price Targets. So the mission is really to, cut through all that daily chatter and see what these bigger weekly charts might be telling us about where XRP could be headed.
Yeah, and that perspective shift is, I think, really valuable. It's easy to get lost in the day-to-day ups and downs, but zooming out to the weekly, like you said, it helps filter out that noise. You start to see the bigger currents. So our goal here isn't just, listing price points. It's about synthesizing this info, trying to reveal those really critical turning points, the potential path forward for XRP beyond just the daily blips.
Right. So as we look at this weekly chart, then the source points to one level that seems, well, absolutely pivotal. It's $3.40. Our source calls this green line on the chart a critical breakout point, not just some random number. It's a big swing high, right? From January this year, but also way back end of 2017, early 2018. And right now, we're kind of consolidating just underneath it. So given it's been resistance for years, what makes this time maybe different? Or what should we be watching for to know it's not just another fake out if we do push above?
That's the key question, isn't it? If we see a decisive break above $3.40, that'd be huge, really monumental. It's more than hitting a price. It suggests a real shift psychologically in the market, could unlock all this trapped bullish energy from previous time. The analysis suggests the first stop might be around $5.60. That's flagged as a key intermediate level. But looking bigger picture, using tools like Fibonacci extensions for this whole macro move, the $5 to $12 area, that's where a lot of the significant targets seem to cluster. We're talking about major zones here, not just the little daily wiggles.
Okay, $5 to $12 is already interesting, but here's where it gets even more, let's say, captivating. The source also mentions $30. Now, they're careful, right? They say it's not a near-term thing based on how things look right now, the microstructure. But it's not totally off the table either. It seems like you'd need to get through $5.60 first, then maybe $10, $13. The source mentions a yellow scenario, which sounds like maybe a big pullback first. Or maybe it's just a much longer, slower path. What kind of, I don't know, market mechanics or catalyst would even make $30 plausible conceptually, even if it takes years?
Right, how does it even get there? That's a great point. The analysis looks at different potential pathways. For instance, one idea is if the big wave 4 correction bottomed out way back in March 2020. If that's the case, then the wave count could perhaps lead towards $30 more, realistically. Now, for people familiar with Elliott wave theory, wave 4 is corrective, right? And finishing it sets up for the final big push, wave 5. But it might take a lot longer, and it probably wouldn't be a straight lineup. This specific scenario they mentioned involves something called an ending diagonal for that fifth wave. Think of an ending diagonal as like a slow, kind of choppy, often contracting move. It signals the market's winding up before a big shift, but makes the ride itself pretty bumpy. It shows markets can take these less direct routes sometimes.
Okay, bumpy ride, maybe. So as of when this analysis was done, the support levels on the XRP chart were holding up. That's good, right, for the bulls. But again, that definitive signal, the thing that unlocks those higher targets we talked about, it really seems to be getting and staying above $3.40. Right now, the price is apparently testing around $3.19, which is what, a 38.2% fib retracement on the smaller time frame? Ideally, the source says that's where an internal little wave 4 might bottom out, maybe setting up the next leg. But let's look at the flip side. What would a bearish read look like here? Or what could pour cold water on this optimism?
Absolutely crucial to consider that. There are definitely some key thresholds to watch on the downside. If XRP breaks down below $3.13, it's described as an upper micro support level, then this whole move up might sort of morph. It could turn into that diagonal structure we mentioned, which means probably a more volatile path, maybe deeper pullbacks along the way, even if the overall trend is still meant to be up. Basically, the move wouldn't be a clean impulse. It's more like taking the scenic route up the mountain, still going up, but lots of twists and turns, maybe some scary drops.
Okay, so more volatile, maybe slower, and if things get even worse for the bulls, is there a point of no return? Almost. The source mentions a level that would make things very, very difficult. That sounds ominous. It's $2.58. Below that, it says it's not necessarily game over bearish, but it signals a pretty major structural shift. The market structure wouldn't really support that clean fifth wave up anymore. It would look more like the correction that started back in mid-July is just extending, getting longer or deeper.
Right. So if we pull all that together, you really can't overstate how central that $3.40 level is. It's the critical breakout point. full stop. We've talked about the potential upside targets first, maybe $5.60, then that broader $5 to $12 range feels more significant for the macro picture. That $30 target, well, it's out there as a possibility under certain long-term wave counts, but clearly not something the current structure points to happening anytime soon. And on the support side, holding around $3.19 is pretty important right now to keep that direct bullish path open.
And if $3.19 doesn't hold, well, the picture starts to change. A break below $3.13 suggests that bumpier diagonal ride might be starting. And below $2.58, that sounds like a much bigger warning sign, signals a real potential change in the market structure, pointing to more correction, either deeper or just longer. So even if that diagonal path could still eventually lead higher, it definitely sounds like a much tougher, less direct journey for XRP.
Which really brings up an important point for, well, for anyone watching these markets. How do these different scenarios, a sharp impulsive rally versus that slower grinding diagonal or even deeper pullbacks, how do they fundamentally change what you expect from an asset's path forward? Understanding these different possibilities, these nuances, I think it reinforces that real market knowledge isn't about having the answer. It's about being able to consider multiple perspectives, multiple potential outcomes, and maybe being prepared for more than just the most bullish one.
That's a great way to put it. It's about understanding the possibilities. So for you listening, maybe think about how digging into this kind of technical analysis, seeing the big breakout levels like $3.40, the crucial supports like $3.19 or $2.58, and even understanding the difference between an impulse and a diagonal wave, how that can shape your own view. It helps you see the different ways the market could play out for an asset like XRP. It's like seeing the whole chessboard, not just focusing on one pawn's next move.